What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Games Talk Live. I am here today with the awesome Chris Grannell. He was my first guest, and now he's my 27th guest. How have you been, my friend?
Very well, thank you. As you know, wasn't too well for a week or so. Wasn't sure whether it was COVID related, but I think it was just kind of a bad cold or flu or something. So I'm back to about 90%. I've been super busy with work, and I've not played that many games, but obviously I enjoyed the Games Awards and things like that. So looking forward to being back on. It was an honor, and excited for the show.
Yeah, you were sick this week. Obviously, that's why you didn't come to the last week's show, and it was a bummer. But luckily I had a pal in Colt Eastwood to step up and come in, but save the day, save my show. But I mean, you even told me you would have come on, but I didn't want you to hear all sick and everything. Like, I understand how that is. I hate being places when I'm sick or not feeling well. So I appreciate you coming by this week, having the time, and I hope you get over this, completely soon and get into this Halo campaign. Okay, and we're going to talk about that for sure in a bit. But first, I just want to thank everybody for showing up today and everybody listening after the fact, because I really appreciate you guys supporting the show, supporting the channel. I really appreciate it. I don't have much time in the world to be making tons of videos like I want to, but I make them when I can. But this show is supposed to be, something fun and a place where you can kind of hear my opinions on these games and the topics and everything that I would usually make in a video. So, and plus it gives us a chance to talk to wonderful people like Chris. So I appreciate you guys. Anyways, Chris, for the people out there who didn't turn into the first episode and might not know who you are, let everybody know who you are and, what you've done in the industry and that sort of stuff.
Okay, yeah, cheers, mate. So, so a long time ago, so I spent about 14 years at Sony Computer Entertainment Europe. So in various roles, started off in a QA role and then moved into game design, senior designer, lead designer. So I've worked with some fantastic people and talent in Liverpool, obviously with different Sony studios throughout the UK, London and Cambridge, and then obviously was fortunate enough to work with the super talented team at Guerrilla Games in Amsterdam. So lived there for about a year and a half. I worked on Killzone 2, obviously been involved in all of the Formula One franchise, which is obviously just been an interesting end to the actual Formula One season. So
I should add the now defunct Killzone game series. The franchise is dead now.
Yeah, it's been killed off by Sony, which is a shame, because I think certainly with these next generation consoles and the talent that is Guerrilla Games, I think there could be some some really nice stuff that those guys and girls could have done. And then I was also involved in Wipeout HD Fury as well, so worked on that franchise as well, which is another kind of IP which I've been begging Sony to kind of bring back. I think it'd be perfect for PS5 and PSVR 2, etc. So let's hopefully we see that. But obviously the issue with that is the talented team is kind of disparate now and in different places and stuff. So trying to get that team back together to do it would need to be someone else, sadly. So
yeah. Well, you've been with Sony Europe for well over a decade, and you've mentioned all those fabulous games you made. Wipeout. What was the? So you made the Formula games, Killzone. What was the other one you mentioned?
So Wipeout HD.
Wipeout was the one that was, that one was a lot of fun. I remember playing that back in the day. What a rush that game is. So tell everybody when you started into this whole hobby, like what got you started into playing games, and what console was it that brought you into home entertainment, or was it a PC?
No, so I mean, in early days, there's me and one other. So I've got a brother, an older brother who's like 3 years older than me. So we just played video games since we were really small. So I think my dad bought the original kind of Atari. So we started off with Pong and things like that, like a lot of people did.
Yes, same here.
Then we moved on to kind of NES and Master System. Then moved Mega Drive, SNES, and then I became quite a heavy PC gamer. Around the time that you had games like X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, Doom, the very original Doom, and so on and so forth. So that's when I started getting into kind of tear downs and ripping PCs apart before they were kind of like big tower based systems with water cooling and lights and so on and so forth. I was ripping apart like Gateway 2000s and Packard Bell machines and stuff, which was all you could kind of buy, which is all you could buy off the shelf at the time.
Yeah.
And really that got me into enjoying Doom via kind of serial link and mini LAN parties and stuff like that, or mini serial link parties before LAN parties kicked off. Unfortunately, that's what got me into Sony, really, because I originally moved into Sony in a QA position, but it was like a PC kind of test position. So I was working on lots of early games like Crazy Ivan and G-Police and Lander and all these kind of awesome games that were multi-platform, because it was Psygnosis really when I started. And yeah, it was kind of ripping down machines, building these test rigs and trying all these games and various compatibility. And that's what got me into Psygnosis and then Sony. And then from there kind of moved into a design position that came up because I was a huge Formula One fan. I was into racing games and that's where I kind of moved into development then.
Yeah.
So I've loved games from kind of as long as I can remember, really, and I've been fortunate enough that because I had an older brother, we could play ourselves. We could play each other off our parents, so we could kind of get hold of both consoles because I'd asked for one, and then my brother had asked for the alternative, so we could flip between these two consoles.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, we used to kind of do, well, not necessarily the same thing. Me and my brothers would all share the same consoles, but our neighbors would have different consoles and being able to play and experience other consoles. Like I didn't directly own a, what was not the Atari, the Intellivision, but my neighbors did. So I was I always had access to the Intellivision and playing those games, the baseball game and stuff like that over there. Lots of fun with that console as well. But it was always cool to have, different neighborhood kids with different consoles and stuff. We got to experience everything. My local mom and pop shop that used to rent videos also rented video games, and they would rent video game consoles as well. And they rented the Neo Geo system. We couldn't afford the Neo Geo system, nor their cartridges, but being able to rent it for a weekend was amazing. Like we had arcades in our home for the weekend. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was an expensive system, the Neo Geo, wasn't it? And it's a good point though, because I think before we had the SNES, a couple of my friends in the neighborhood, they had a SNES, and we'd play on Mega Drive in mine and SNES, and then you'd kind of get hold of a console yourself. So it was a different time, wasn't it? It was a time where couch co-op and sitting on a couch and swapping turns on a game and kind of helping
LAN parties, like you were talking about, doing the LAN parties with the Halo, with the first Halo game, Combat Evolved. I remember doing that with my brothers. We'd set up different TVs, different Xboxes, and just be playing on. It was an amazing time.
It was
amazing
a really good time.
And now we kind of have that with online play. Everybody's just out there playing online, and it's a cool thing. It's a beautiful thing, man, being able to play with other people. Or even just chat with other people. It's awesome. But anyways, Chris, the last time you were here, we played a game called 5 Questions, and you got nervous. So
I got the truth of how many Beatles there were. I don't know.
Yeah, and so Chris, today
we've got 5 questions.
We've got more 5 questions here, and it's going to be a good one here. So let's get started with this. And play some 5 questions.
Let's go for it.
5 questions. All right, Chris. Now, Chris, 4 trivia questions, and the last one's going to be a subjective question. It's changed up a bit. Last time there was a lot of subjective questions, and it was just a lot of fun. I changed it up. It's more trivia now. But Chris, first question. How many Beatles are there? No, I'm just kidding. That's not your question.
4.
You already know it's 4. I think you do last time. It's just brain fart. One of those things that happens when you get nervous. Name any game that launched with the original Xbox back on November 15th, 2001. What would it be? Any game.
Halo, Combat Evolved.
Halo. Yes, that works. All right. Next question. I gave you an easy one there.
Yeah.
But you should know this one. As a big racing fan, do you happen to know, actually, you might not know this one. Do you happen to know the name of the very first racing game ever made?
First racing game ever made?
Ever made. This is hard. I looked deep for this one.
I'd go back as far as to say it was on an Atari, but I may be wrong.
This goes back to 1974. So it's before Atari.
I was born in 79, so I've got no chance.
Yeah, so this was called Grand Track 10. Yeah. Look it up, 1974. It's really weird.
I'll look that up.
Grand Track 10. Biggest selling racing game of all time.
Biggest selling racing game of all time? Oh, tricky one. Well, obviously, I don't know, because I'm torn between, like, obviously Gran Turismo had its time. I think Forza's had its time. Or was it Super Mario Kart or something like that?
I'll give that to you. It's Mario Kart 8 to be specific.
Yeah, there we go.
But yeah, it's the biggest one. You know, it sold 152 million copies so far.
Unbelievable.
Just that Nintendo's games sell insanely well.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Price just ridiculous.
And they do. Yeah, Mario Kart 8, I guarantee you it's probably $60 still.
Yeah.
You know, it just holds their value so well. What is the total number of cars that can enter a Formula One competition?
22.
Actually,
20, is it? Is it 20 now?
20.
Yeah,
20.
Yeah.
It's 20.
It used to be 24 at one point or whatever, so yeah.
Yeah, 20. You got it right. So you've only got 2 wrong here. So you're doing better than last time. All right. So anyways, favorite gaming experience of all time?
Favorite gaming experience?
Could be a favorite game or just an experience you had as you played a game that was mind-blowing or really cool, something you really remember.
I'll go for experience, because I think last time I answered what my favorite game was. So experience, I'll try and be quick with it. So when I worked at Sony, we used to have lunchtime breaks and we used to play multiplayer games. So when Battlefield Vietnam came out, and I think I tweeted this a while ago, but Battlefield Vietnam came out, and I used to love flying the Hueys. So I used to be like a helicopter pilot. I would let the team kind of load up in the helicopter. We'd fly in. I'd drop them off. They'd kind of perform like a little, takeover session, or they cleared a little part of the island while I would fly it around. And then I'd pick them back up and go again. So I was doing this little mission, drop people off. They sorted something out, and then I basically came back in to pick everyone up. But what I didn't realize is, like, one of the other guys had, like, moved into the area. So I think the helicopter could only hold like 5 or 6 people. I can't quite remember how many. So this extra guy jumped in. So the helicopter was full. I take off, and in a pure like platoon moment, where Elias is getting like chased in the jungle. I just heard the scream across the room, because we were obviously all in the same room, developers. Just heard the scream like, "No, Chris, like come back," or whatever. And we just left him behind. And he's just getting absolutely like pasted by like the enemy.
That's awesome.
And it's just like everyone kind of, was laughing, and it was just kind of just a weird like moment where, everything had gone like really well.
Yeah.
And then you've just got this like deadly like blood curdling screech across the studio, and there's this guy being left behind as if he was like really in like a war.
Yeah, you really left him behind. He's pissed off over there, like, help me, and you're gone. No, that's hilarious.
I think like what we were saying about multiplayer and stuff like that, I think it shows what like experiences like gaming, can give. If you get a good group of people or a good group of friends, these experiences are kind of awesome. And totally opposite to going into a game and having like a team full of idiots or people who are just trying to look after themselves. I think that's when it starts to kind of be a less interesting experience.
For instance, I was playing the Halo Infinite multiplayer with Fun Speculation, the guys and gals over there at Fun Speculation. 12-team big battle. It's I know everybody who's playing with me there. It's such a different experience when you're playing opposed to randoms and you're playing with friends. It's such a great experience, and it's things totally like that really create a lot of great gaming memories. And shout out to Fun Speculation, man. That group is a great group of people. I really do get along with them.
Absolutely awesome group.
Yeah. Gone Mad with the $5 says, better late than never. Let's go, fellas. Shots with every so on and so forth. I guess you say so on and so forth. Yeah. You know what? We all have our quirks. And yeah, take a shot. You, Gone Mad, take a shot every time he does that. So make sure you do that a lot. We'll get him hammered by the end of the show. Anyway, I'm not condoning any of it. Look, I'm not an advocate for this kind of stuff. Stop, Gone Mad. You're going to get me in trouble.
I'll be cautious now.
Yeah, he kicked me off my own show. Do you see that?
It's outrageous.
I just got kicked out of my own show. That's weird. It's a touchy computer screen I got going on here, but I'm back. So I'm not gone.
It's good to have you back.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, thanks, Gone Mad. I appreciate that. No shots, buddy. No shots. What's up, Darge Knight? I see him in the chat. Ham Solo, what's up? Another great guy. Adam, Aaron Summers, I see you, buddy. Jason, Netnin, so many good people here. Yosemite Bland, Mr. Joanna Dark, Blue Moon FC. Thank you guys for showing up today. I appreciate it. D-Batch. What's up, D-Batch with the 5. Hi, Fonz. Chris, I asked about realistic textures to approach photorealism on RDX. Lost my mind playing Unreal Matrix demo. Your thoughts on the future? Yeah, give us your thoughts. Did you see that Matrix demo?
Yeah, so I saw, I presume we'll speak about it later. So I've seen Hellblade 2 demo, which just blew my mind as well as everyone else's. I think I tweeted at the time. And the Matrix demo is looking unbelievable. I think we need to be a bit careful about, it's not necessarily how games are going to, kind of look. I think there's compromises made in that world and stuff like that. But I think in terms of the people involved, Coalition and the other studios that have been involved in Epic, to show what that engine is capable of and when it's in the right hands. I mean, we've got such an exciting number of years ahead for us, and especially when you've got things like Hellblade 2, and then you've got things like Forsaken and Horizon.
But what do you think about realistic textures and this approach to realism realistically when it comes to our games, like future games with Unreal Engine 5? Do you think it's going to approach that realism, or do you think it's, again, do you have to just hold off and not go wild with this?
I think obviously there's the thing which a lot of people get confused with is like the subjectiveness of art style. So I've seen quite a few bad takes this week of people going,
oh yeah, me too.
Hellblade 2 looks better than Horizon Forbidden West, and this looks better than this, and so on and so forth. And a lot of people don't really think about art direction. And I think one of the reasons why people, so there's when I think about like realism or realistic textures and things like that, so there's two different things for me. Realistic textures are kind of already in games. If people do realistic wood grain or rocks or sand or something, that's realistic material. That looks like really nice. And obviously, certain engines do that better than others. But I think realistic looking games, I think not a lot of people kind of go for that because it's quite hard. The whole thing about a video game is for you to kind of lose yourself. And when you start seeing this like blaring between lines, so obviously I think Project Mara is going to be like one of the first. I think when that comes out, they've gone for hyper-realism. The guys and girls at Ninja Theory have learned how to create metallic surfaces and all of these things for a reason, and we need to looking forward to see what that's about. And I think it's going to be a bit more of a psychological project like they've done with universities in the past and so on and so forth. So I think there's a time and a place for like ultra realism. But I think a lot of people will stray away from that because I think sticking a VR headset on or kind of going into a world which is like too realistic is a bit it's a bit weird. It can be a little bit like taboo. So I think art style always kind of steps in and tries to alter that. So as great as the Matrix looks, as phenomenal as the Matrix looks, you can see in some instances that Trinity and Neo and stuff look like a plasticky, or like a fake human or whatever. So I don't think we're quite there. I think when we see kind of Unreal models in kind of isolation, when they've got these like real humans and stuff, they look incredible. But then trying to pool them together with huge environments and so on and so forth, there needs to be some compromises.
Yeah, I've seen a ton of like Unreal 5 demos on the PC and stuff that people have made and things like that. And there's some incredibly hyper realistic looking things, but I mean, some of them look photorealistic, but they are demos. They're not really games.
Yeah.
And so when you add in mechanics and all that stuff, of course, that takes up a lot of resource from, whatever rig you're playing on, whether it be console, PC, and that's going to take a toll. So I don't think that's why I don't think you're going to see Matrix demo level style, gaming, but you will see some of those aspects in these games for sure. I've got a question here from Portal Player. He says, "At Chris Grannell, do you think that the Unreal Engine 5 will make the production faster, game production faster? He thinks that games are taking too long to release this generation." I don't agree with that part, but what do you think about Unreal Engine 5? I'm sure they have to learn all this yet. Like, this is brand new tech.
Yeah, so I mean, Unreal Engine 4 and other engines and stuff haven't made games faster. I think the problem with game development is the more visually impressive and the more powerful the hardware becomes, the more complex people are trying to make games. And I think you look at something like Death's Door or was that's one of my games of the year, and it was
my game of the year.
Yeah, and it's fantastic art style. It was a team. It was a handful of people. It was originally 2, and then they added a handful of artists to help them. So I think it depends on what's being made. I think these epic, cinematic experiences are always going to take 3 or 4 years
at least.
And, and I agree. Those things are taking a while, and it's almost like movie creation now. And I think just finally to touch on the realism side of things, I think one of the things that is impressive and we are going to be seeing now is the fact that the games which would have had cinematics would have needed like pre-rendered cinematics, like Ratchet and Clank and Hellblade and other games that we've seen now, are now doing that kind of real-time in engine, and I think that's one of the biggest leaps in games.
The lines are being blurred there, especially like and it's not a graphical powerhouse necessarily, but playing Halo Infinite, for example, all the cutscenes are in real time in engine, and you're just like you're watching through the cutscene, and then all of a sudden you're there playing. It's not a load screen, and it's just bam, it's right there in engine, and it's a beautiful thing. I like that games are going this route. This is the way I've always envisioned that it should be. And it's just more interactive, more immersive, I think, when you see it, and it's not so jarring from a cutscene to gameplay.
Yeah, and I think just back to that question, I think there's aspects of game development which are already like super fast, and Unreal Engine 5 will assist on that. So I think if you look at the skill set of level designers, I think and environment builders, they can build impressive environments with incredible kind of animation and environments and textures and so on and so forth, and models really quickly. The problem is when the gameplay programmers and the AI programmers and all of the storytellers and everyone needs to get involved then to kind of bring those things together. So you may see levels and environments and things like that built really quickly, but it's all the ancillary elements around that need to pull it together to actually make the game what it is, which will slow things down because there's mocap and there's voice actors and so on and so forth. So I think games are becoming more complex. So Unreal Engine 5
definitely. And there's a couple of games we're going to be talking about soon in this show that do showcase Unreal Engine 5 and showcase some of that photorealism as well. They're adopting a lot of stuff, both studios, and I think what they're creating is incredible. And we'll get to those soon. Gone Mad says, "I blame D in Canada." Yeah, me too. I blame him for everything. Hargeet Shani says, "Unreal Engine 5 is starting to go down the uncanny valley. This gen is already looking good. Wonder what we'll get next gen. PC should look really good in a few years. Yeah, most definitely. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's only gonna get better. And I think if you look, I was just watching the kind of Xbox Fan Fest, 20 years, and it started off going all the way back to Windows and the original Xbox, and you look at kind of like Virtua Fighter and games like that, where they've gone now. So I think there is going to be kind of we'll hit a ceiling at some point. I think we'll get to a ceiling where, as you say, how realistic can you make your games look, and how realistic do studios want to make the games look? Because I think, as I said before, if you get to the point where GTA looks like real life, then it kind of loses its stylistic element and stuff. I think there's a kind of a fine line between trying to get environments looking realistic but still retaining that kind of that artistic.
I think that comes down to the artists, what they want their game to depict, like what they want. Do they want real life, or do they want something more cartoony even? These video game designers and artists are doing what they want to do, and we should let them continue to do that, not ask for everything to be photorealistic. Of course not. But there are games out there that I do tend to gravitate to that are more on that photorealism side. Mm-hmm. And I like that. I like the more realistic looking games when it comes down to something like Hellblade. Yeah. So I get
agree,
it.
And
but
I think, sorry, I was just going to say, finally, as like a racing fan, I want my racing games to look as realistic as possible. So I'm not necessarily talking about kind of Forza Horizon 5, which looks incredible. Yeah. But I'm talking about, racing sims as well. So, whether it's an F1 depicting and looking as close to what it looks like in real life or TV, or Forza Motorsport, is going to be really interesting to see where they take that. Does it look like proper GT racing and so on and so forth? So I think there's some genres which would be perfect to look super photorealistic, and then there's some elements which shouldn't. Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about a game that chose to go a different art style. They chose to go more of a traditional. They went back to Halo Combat Evolved, basically. Mm-hmm. And of course, I'm talking about Halo Infinite. The campaign was released to rave reviews. Honestly, a lot of people are giving it 9s and 10s even. The game, okay, so I put out on Twitter that I'm going to give my thoughts today on the game. A lot of people out there know that I'm somebody who has really put 343 to the fire, so to speak. I have not really enjoyed any of their campaigns, 4 or 5. Not a big fan of them for different reasons. But I'll just say this. 343, you did it. You did it. You did it, 343. You made me a believer. Chris, I played the first hour of this campaign. Well, it was about 45 minutes, really. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't feeling it at first. And I was like, 343, typical. I got into that open world, and I'm hooked. Mm-hmm. What they've managed to do here within the gameplay is bring back that just element of just fun. Mm-hmm. And honestly, like the addition of something that seems so simple as like a grappling hook, it just blows my mind how much fun it is. Mm-hmm. The things you can do, the fact that they gave you a sandbox and they said, go do what you want here. Here's the main missions. You don't have to do all this other stuff, but it makes you want to do the other stuff because it's so fun. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. For a game to do that. I love open world games. I talk about it all the time. Open world games are my thing, but it's special because to me, at first I didn't like the art style direction when I first saw what they were showing us the first time they represented the game, even with gameplay. I was like, I wish they would have went more realistic, at least more along the lines of Halo 4 with the way that was looking. I'm glad they didn't. I think I know exactly what they went for here. It's like Halo Combat Evolved reimagined. It's beautifully done. The animations are all great. Like the fact that when I'm shooting a brute in the leg and you see him stumble, and that kind of stuff, like it wasn't there in Halo 5. Mm-hmm. It's here in Halo Infinite. I appreciate that. I like that level of detail. a lot of people out there I see say this game looks ugly. They're wrong. There's nothing ugly about it. If you don't like the art style, I get it. But the game, it's beautiful. For what it does, is it the best looking game out there? No, not by a long shot, but it's a great looking game, and it's fun. The story is decent so far. I'm really engaged in what's going on. No spoilers. You haven't played it yet, right, Chris?
No, I've only played multiplayer.
Yeah, so I'm telling you, when you get into this game and you go into this open world, and they're allowed, see, this is what the cool part is. It's like they let you do what you want in this game, and they let you do what you want in this game. You don't have to. It's not like a linear experience where you go here and tackle this thing a certain way. You can go there, swinging it in on a grapple hook, throwing stuff down at him, or you can go, rushing at him, or you could do it, trying to be sneaky or whatever. There is just different ways of tackling everything, and I really appreciate that in the game. 343 made a great Halo game here. Fantastic so far.
And there's an art to an open world game, because obviously I've seen lots of videos. I've seen your comments and lots of other people's comments on Twitter, and obviously looking forward to getting into it. And just before people say anything, it's purely due to work and not being well and stuff. And if anyone knows, when you're ill, the last thing you want to do is play video games. So it's not been something that I haven't not wanted to play. I've been desperate to play it, but I've just not been in the frame of mind. But I think it's so difficult to make an open world game, and it sounds like it's really easy to make an open world, but just create a massive environment. And put loads of stuff in there for people to do. But if you take a game like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which I love history, I love the setting, I love the location. I need to double check. I think I got like 40 odd hours into that, and I was like done. And it was like nowhere near finishing the game. I was kind of doing lots of side missions, and it was basically just a little bit too slow. I will go back and finish it because they've done a good job, but I think there's a fine line between giving the player too much stuff to do and having the right kind of balance. And it sounds like Infinite, if you look at kind of trying to do everything, the main mission and the side missions, is probably about 15 or 18 hours or something. I know people can speed run, but
it's not even that crazy either. It's not like they give you this map and there's all kinds of dots all over it and you don't feel like in a Far Cry map, let's say Far Cry, you pull out of the map and you see it just keeps going and going and going, and you get this huge map. And then when you start to unlock each area, you just see nothing but these dots all over the place. Man, I got to go tackle that, and it's not like that at all. But the game, what they do give you here, it's so fun that it makes you want to do more. Yeah. It makes you not want to just complete the story and get it over with. Mm-hmm. You want to prolong that and say, nah, I'm going to go tackle this. I'm going to go do this. And it's just fun. And that's all we want from games as gamers, really, is that fun factor. Mm-hmm. Yes, I'm a person that in a single player campaign, I need a good narrative. So far, it's giving me a good narrative. 343 has done it, and it's impressing me. I seriously went into this game with such a negative attitude, and I know that's not the way you should do things. But for me, harping on 343 for so many years, especially the last year, going into it so negatively, and for them to turn it around like that for me, it's insane. It's really insane. Because, like I said, the first 45 minutes I was talking with Colt and other people, and they were like, "Do you love it?" And I was like, "No, I don't love it. I'm not really into it yet." But once I got to that open world and I started doing things, I was like, "I get it now. This game is it's really awesome."
And I guess that's a credit to everyone involved, isn't it? Because
it is. And shout out to Joseph Staten. Shout out to him for coming in and basically saving this franchise, because. I'm telling you, like I read that article, how we heard the rumors for years. We heard all the turmoil internally, what they were going through, the struggles and management issues and stuff. The only thing I will say, though, is this, Chris. If Joseph Staten ends up just going to do something else and not really sticking with 343, I think I'd worry. I'd worry for 343 on their own, at least with their management. I think 343 are showing that they are definitely capable of making a great game, under good management. And that is the key here. They need great management, and I think Joseph is that guy. And I want him to stick around because I want more of this. And I'm only halfway done with the game so far. So I haven't completed it. So Hargeet asked me Death's Door or Halo Infinite for your game of the year. I can't answer that because I have not finished it yet. Yeah. But Death's Door is definitely, a fantastic game, and it remains my game of the year. Had this come out and made the cut to be nominated, I think it would definitely have been nominated. It definitely deserves to be nominated at this point. I would say that. It's fantastic so far. I'm halfway through. And so, you Xbox fans out there, you'll be happy to know that I'm enjoying the game a lot.
It's Fonz's definitive
man. It's crazy.
Take on it. And I think, games are difficult enough to develop as it is, let alone management issues or like internal struggles or, whatever's happened to 343. And then bolt on a pandemic on top of that, so for everyone involved at 343 and Joseph to come in and kind of rally the troops, if there were individuals in there who didn't understand the importance of Halo as a franchise or what they were trying to do, then it's great that they turned it around. I think it's sat at a 87 meta at the minute. I think it's just gone back up to 87.
Really
great fan feedback. And I think it's just, I said this, last year when, the Dare 5 guys, released, Dare 5 when it was, when it was kind of, when it was, a launch title across multiple platforms, they did that in a pandemic, and it's kind of, it's difficult developing games. We've seen so many get pushed back. We've seen so many get cancelled. And I think you're right. I think, for 343, there was a bit of a, last chance saloon or whatever, and it sounds like, and I'm looking forward to jumping in myself. Obviously, the one thing I can add is multiplayer, gunplay,
Yeah, talk about the multiplayer a bit, because the multiplayer is good. I played a bit of the multiplayer, but you, I think, played more of the multiplayer. Let everybody know how you feel the multiplayer is.
So let's ignore the kind of, the battle pass or the, that type of level of thing, which they're trying to work on, and they have kind of worked on a little bit, but just in terms of like gunplay, and I think even the original showing when everyone kind of said it didn't look as good as it could have looked and so on and so forth. I think the one thing that a lot of people agreed on is the gunplay looked fantastic. When whoever was playing it was moving up the hill, using the grapple, taking enemies out and then picking up different weapons and stuff. So I think the essence of the gunplay, certainly in multiplayer, when you're playing with a good team, the movement, traversing the environment, and is fantastic. So, as you've said, and Dealer, who's popped up, and
he says Fonz.
He says Fonz, and a lot of other people, that translates perfectly, if not, better into the kind of campaign. And so I'm looking forward to jumping in and seeing.
Yeah, I enjoyed the multiplayer. Again, I played with 2 Fridays in a row. I played with Fun Speculation, had a real great time with them. And I played with other members in the community too. I played with Dealer, I played with Colt, I played with so many people, and had a fantastic time in multiplayer. And just as the guns are great there, they're fantastic in the campaign. Matter of fact, even better, I would say. I'm just the variety of weapons in the game is just so satisfying. Honestly, Chris, when you start to play the campaign, really just pick up every weapon, try everything, because there's something to like about just about every one. There's a couple of old weapons that we've seen around forever that I never use, and I won't really use unless I have to. It's the only weapon around. I don't have ammo. But there are some fantastic guns in this game. It's so fun. I was just playing it up until the point that I came on the show today. I played it last night for like 6 hours last night.
Yeah. It's the sign of a good game, isn't it? If you're kind of, sold on it, you're kind of enjoying playing, enjoying the story and the narrative.
Yeah, exactly. Darge Knight says he's refueling his eyes on sexiness this Sunday. Staten isn't going anywhere. Microsoft money will make sure of it. I hope so. But yeah, Halo Infinite is a great game. Everybody, any like hater out there talking about Halo being bad or whatever, you know what? You've got your eyes closed, or you're not really playing the game. You're just talking mess. I don't know what
I've
to tell
heard like
you.
the enemy chat is like really good in it as well, isn't it?
Oh, they talk
Like
a lot of crap.
yeah,
Man,
yeah, I
those grunts, I mean, they've always said things about you in Halo games. It's like a tradition, but they're more brutal than ever, man. When they kill you, they just talk mess, and the brutes are like, oh, I guess the stories of this guy wasn't right, or
yeah.
they just say all kinds of crazy stuff. And those little grunts, man, they get in your face, and yeah, it's
my
funny.
brother said like he was playing it, and he was trying to retake back like a fob or a point to like an enemy point, and like a couple of grunts were just having a conversation, and he kind of went off to do something else, came back, and they were having like a completely different conversation then.
Oh, that's funny.
Kind of giving each other like a bit of crap and stuff like that. So he just said like the conversations, like you could just kind of hear them chatting away and stuff. It kind of reminded them of like Lord of the Rings, when the like Uruk-hai are given, the orcs and stuff like loads of crap and that. So
it's definitely kind of like that. It's awesome. Like, I like to pay attention to small details like that too. When you overhear a conversation by, NPCs or whatever, I like to do that. I like to walk up on them and listen. And the grunts do say some stupid things and some crazy things and fun. It's all fun though. In the end, it's really fun.
Yeah.
What's up, Mav? I see you in the chat. What's up to Z Black Rider? Try hard fan. Paul AFC, Blue Moon FC. Jordy, what's up? I see you. Philly Eagle in the house. Nice. So Halo Infinite's good. Play it if you haven't. Don't worry. As Colt said in his thumbnail, don't worry, it's amazing. Yeah, it is pretty amazing right now. I'm having a blast with it. About 50% in, like I said. I'm going to finish that probably, I don't know, because I'm not trying to fly right through it, Chris. I'm actually taking my time and doing other things on the map. So maybe in a couple of days or, few days, I'll finish it when I finish it, but I'm having a blast with it. Let's move on, though. Let's talk about the VGAs. The Video Game Awards 2021, or the Keeleys, as I like to call them. Because, Jeff Keighley just loves to try to put on a great show. I appreciate the sentiment, Jeff. I appreciate you what you're trying to do for gaming. But I have to be honest here. It seems like the show is getting kind of progressively worse, and for a reason. I think this time it was really apparent what the reason was, and that, of course, was the show was just too long. I think 3 hours is far too long for a gaming awards show. And on top of that, I thought that they celebrated less about the gaming awards and more about advertisement and marketing. And I think that was the big downfall of this show. What do you say, Chris?
I 100% agree with you. So I think we exchanged messages, did we, in DMs? And I think obviously, certainly for me in the UK, that started about midnight for me. With the pre-show, and then 1 o'clock the show started properly, and I was thinking, I'll watch this for a couple of hours, and here we are at 4 a.m. I eventually gave up when I think Druckmann came out, and we were about to find out what the game of the year was, and then he said like the orchestra's going to play music from each of the 5 nominees and stuff, and then at that point I just like turned it off and went, I need to get some sleep here. So I agree with you. I think it was harsh on the awards that were given where Jeff just like rushed through them and didn't even announce. There was one point, Chris, good point, because so they had shown an advertisement or several advertisements, and then they said, they gave out like 5 awards within like a minute or two, and they were just boom, boom, boom. They were gone, and then they went back to an advertisement. I'm like, really? This is what they're doing? Or no, they went back into something like the K-pop thing with the little, characters dancing. And at that point, I shut it off. I said I had enough of this. And then I went back and I saw some highlights of what was done. And somebody said that even with the Game of the Award, the Game of the Year award was given, but no real time to really say anything. Like they didn't give them much time at all. Everyone was like being rushed off stage.
Yeah.
And I think, that's... For people who've worked hard, that's their time to shine. And I understand and get. I've been to a few award ceremonies to do with the day job. When it's like sport and things like that. And I understand like award after award after award can be quite difficult. But if you mix that with the right content, like everyone should at least be seen or be allowed to kind of say a few words.
Say
And I think
something, yeah.
there was like interesting awards, about kind of music or audio design or this, that, the other, which were just kind of brushed over, and
Yeah,
it wasn't.
yeah.
They weren't even announced. It was like the nominees are up on screen now, and the winner is like Fonzarelli. Or
Yeah, yeah.
It didn't give anyone kind of a chance for what are these nominees and things like that. So I agree with you, and I think it went a bit ad heavy. There was a lot of like, we'll be back in a minute, and then it was like meta, and it was just like ad after ad
Facebook
after ad.
ads. Like, there was these little segments where they would just talk about certain things, bullying, whatever. And I get it. It's like, it's some important topics, but there was just too many of them. And there wasn't enough like games. I mean, we're there to celebrate games and to see premieres of games and things like that. I'm not there for all the theatrics. I've said that for years about shows. I'm not there for theatrics. I don't like all the musical guests and all this stuff. I don't care about that stuff. Others feel differently because I've talked with others and they love the music. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm fine with the music if it pertains to video games. Like if it's an orchestra playing, a score that's in a video game that's amazing and stuff. Yeah, go ahead. But when you get like Sting coming up on stage and singing and, or Imagine Dragons, I could care less. And I'm not saying I don't like those people as singers or whatnot. It's just at a game show, that's not what I come for. Yeah, and so it just prolongs it.
Like it was pushing a Netflix series. It's like
and
series,
TV movies.
Gotta like make, it's got to make money out of it. They've got to make money for the awards. So they're as kind of polished as they are. But I think trying to, there's a real chance of like turning it into like the global, the Golden Globes or like the Oscars or something of video games. Like a real chance of doing that. And I think it's I think that's kind of taken away when it
the whole Matrix movie ad and things like that. It's like, I understand the Matrix Unreal 5 demo came out, but it's not a video game. It's a demo, and that's a movie. Let's not get too carried away with these ads. Hargeet Shani says the Game Awards has an orchestra and glossed over the music-based awards. Really needed to give some love to the nominees. Yeah, I agree. That was another category that they didn't really,
composers,
shed spotlight.
I think some amazing composers just got brushed over. And I think obviously a lot of people tune in for the reveals, the world premieres as it is. And I think there was some decent showings.
There was a few announcements that were really good, but as a whole for me, like they didn't show a lot of games that I'm really interested in, but they showed games that a lot of others are interested in. So I know I'm in the minority with some of these games, but they did show a few that I was like, okay, that's cool. Like they announced the Wonder Woman game by Monolith. Monolith is a great development team, and it's great to hear that they're making this Wonder Woman game. We didn't see anything from it, but the announcement was good.
It's a logo.
yeah, the announcement was good, but what else did they show?
So I think the thing for me was, obviously I think we'll touch upon it like Hellblade 2, but it was Ark.
Yeah, we'll get to Hellblade.
Because I think on RDX and stuff I mentioned.
Yeah.
Embark as a studio will want to watch kind of early this year because you've got Patrick Sutherland, you've got lots of X-Dice, and that looked awesome. That type of environment and fighting these like giant mechs and stuff looked superb. And I think
the Warhammer Space Marines too. A lot of people are hyped about that
because I like Vermintide and stuff. So and obviously me and Dealer like Saber Interactive who do World War Z and that. So that's the same team who's done that.
It's the same team. Yeah. And overall, though, I think that it's Keeley's fault for kind of overhyping this show because he did mention that there was going to be like 4 like really big announcements, and for me there wasn't 4 really big announcements, but okay. Hellblade 2 for me was the star of the show. Hellblade 2 looked. We'll get into it now. Hellblade 2 looked incredible. If you're looking for photorealism, that realistic look, this game had it. In spades. This game, honestly, when I was watching the stream, we were saying, it looks like it could look real good in 4K. This looks really good. I went to the 4K version after the show, or when I turned it off, watched it a few times.
unbelievable.
And then the next day I watched it a few times again because I started to look at little things and try to analyze stuff because I like to look at the small details. And what they're doing with this game is just, on a visual standpoint, incredible. One of the best looking games, most realistic looking games I've ever seen ever. Like, hands down. There's no debating. The cloth, the materials that they're wearing, if you watch it, because I was staring at it, the way it moved as they were running, the way it moved when the wind gently blew across her, and the way it would move. I've seen nothing like that. Like, we've seen games where, like, you know, clothing moves in wind or whatever, but it doesn't look realistic. It's just like, it's moving.
It just flickers or animates, like, just.
And that's the attention to detail that Ninja Theory is paying attention to. It's like they had video documentaries where they were burning fabrics to see how fabrics reacted to being burned and how fabrics reacted, you know, to movement and all this stuff. That is a testament to what they're doing here. And I'm blown away. I'm blown away. Here's the facts we know about Hellblade 2 right now. This was said back in June of 2020. It said that there was a team of 40 people working on this game in 2020. This team, as a whole, Ninja Theory has grown to at least over 120 employees that we know of so far. And this was that back in September 2020 when the team was like blowing up. So we know there's at least 120 employees at Ninja Theory. How many are working on Hellblade? I don't know, but I'm sure it's over 40. And, you know, the original game, only 20 worked on that game, Chris. And it looked incredible. So if you're telling me at least more than double are working on this game, they're paying so much attention to things like, you know, the fabrics and how it reacts to being burned. And, you know, Melina, and not only Melina, the actress that plays Senua, but the rest of the animators that are working on this game that also do mocap and stuff. For 2 years, they went to a martial arts class and they've studied. That tells me, this gives me a good indication that the combat is going to be better than the first game. Because the first game, the combat wasn't all that great, and it definitely didn't need any martial arts instruction. Them doing all this, putting time and money and all these resources into these details tells me that this is a much bigger and better game. I'm looking forward to it.
By the environments, I mean that, you know,
the environments,
and the giant, and like you said, the attention to detail. You know, watching the kind of 4K version and watching the layers of like animation. You know, so when she was kind of backing away from the huge kind of giants coming out of the cave and stuff, there was lots of little nuanced animations where she would like trip or she would turn a little bit, then she would move into a completely different animation.
Yep.
You know, you had people around it, you know, the other Viking warriors and stuff would
the giant, you know, that creepy giant.
The giant itself.
Man. Everything about it looks incredible. And Philly Eagle says the first one wasn't about combat. You're right. It really wasn't. It was more shining a light on mental illness and it was, you know, an experience for, you know, if you put on headphones, it was crazy sounding and stuff. I didn't finish the game because I didn't care for the combat and I didn't care for that direction, but I appreciate what they were trying to do. I appreciate it.
Worth kind of trying to finish it, and but you're right. It was more of a kind of aural experience, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was focusing on and also puzzles and stuff where you kind of like visualize the puzzle and the environment. Chief Tommy says we already knew it was going to look good, but what about the combat mechanics? That's what I was touching on. The fact that they spent money and time on 2 years of martial arts combat training, that tells you that they're going to do something with this, and so that. I wouldn't say that it's going to be the same as last time. Not at all. I think they're going to up the game there.
I think they're doing something different, and I think, you know.
Also the cloud animations. They did a whole segment on cloud animations where how they form the clouds and how they dissipate and everything. And it looks so realistic. Like what they are doing here is incredible. It's along the same lines as a Rockstar or Naughty Dog. I don't care what anybody says. They are a fantastic animation team.
Materials, animation, you know, facial expressions, you know, all of those things. It blew me away, and you know, it was definitely the start of the show. I think, I think just, you know, seeing that kind of environment, seeing, you know, what they'd come up with, seeing the materials, seeing the textures, seeing that it's a much more vast landscape, as we've said. So there's something to think about there. And I don't want to turn any of this conversation into any kind of warring or anything.
Oh no.
I think the worst take that I've seen quite a lot is this whole kind of well, why did Microsoft acquire Ninja Theory when they were like working with PlayStation and stuff like that? And if people go back to when the acquisition actually happened, Tamim turned around and said that it was a studio that was kind of running out of funds. They were a small studio, and what he and the rest of the team wanted to achieve, they needed to look out at outside investment. So we've had this conversation before when you either resort to hedge funds or pension funds or people who don't understand video games, and they'll give you some money, but they'll try to direct you or you won't get a lot of time. And when they sat down with Microsoft said, look, what we're going to do is we're going to give you resource, not just monetary resource. We're going to give you technology resource. We're going to give you access to developers if required, or other people, technologists, and we are going to keep the Ninja Theory kind of way, and we're going to give you the ability to do what you do best. We're not going to kind of interfere. We're not going to, and that's what they've done, to be fair. And Tamim could have turned around and said no, but there was enough there to give the confidence that they were going to be able to kind of move forward and do what they did. So that's why that happened. There's such a talented studio.
Microsoft is funding the all of the look. They've grown to 120 plus people in the studio now.
I'm still hiring.
They're still hiring. They're making a game that's obviously not Game Pass fodder, as some people will have you believe. That all their games are just going to be trash now because they're all going into Game Pass. Well, that narrative is totally blown out the water with Halo Infinite. Even that game is so far fantastic in my opinion. Psychonauts 2 is another game in Game Pass day one. Amazing game. That was one of my Game of the Year nominations too. I like that game a lot. So Hellblade 2 turns around and shows us, hey, they don't all have to have a certain art style, a cartoony art style. We can go photorealistic and look just as good as a Naughty Dog game or a Rockstar game. What they're doing there is amazing. And Chief Tommy, they've done video documentaries out there showing you that they did 2 years of combat training. They show Melina in a suit, combat training and stuff like that. It's going to be a different game for sure. They're saying this is much bigger in scope, so I'm excited
no
for
rush as well, which is the important thing. There seems to be no kind of. I know we were talking about how long games take, and it obviously depends on the game, but they're out in Iceland. They're understanding kind of materials, they're understanding landscapes. It's not just a case of just Google it or this, that, the other. They're putting them on the ground. So it's as realistic or as good as it can be. The martial arts training, the other technology training, because they've got a fantastic motion capture studio and facial capture studio. It's not a kind of this needs to be out in 12 months or whatever, and just do what you can to rush it out. The sad build that.
Yeah, the sad part is, Chris, like what gets to me is like when people will post a screenshot of the original trailer that dropped that was like in engine. It wasn't gameplay. It was basically, a CGI or in-engine, tech demo thing where they showed her face up close and everything. They're showing screenshots of that and showing the gameplay screenshot, which still looks amazing in gameplay. Her face looks incredible. Yep. But they're saying downgrade. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, all you're doing at this point is lying to yourself and hurting the developers. Like, these people work hard on this stuff. And for you to say that this game doesn't look good is just a slap in their face. What they are achieving here is amazing. Like if this is gameplay, that is incredible. That's some of the most incredible looking gameplay I've ever seen. You're lying to yourself if you say it doesn't look incredible or that it's downgraded.
Yeah, well, people were saying, all she was doing was throwing a spear and stuff, but it's just a snippet of a certain particular type of gameplay. It's not. If you look the other way, Gorilla do a fantastic job showing traversal and stuff like that, but the whole of Forbidden West isn't going to be quick time, traversal battles and stuff. There's going to be other elements to it, but it's
Yeah,
called kind of
for instance,
PR. It's called showing your product off.
Yeah, for instance, Red Dead Redemption 2. Yeah, the game looked incredible, okay? Big open world, and it looked that good, the animations and everything. If all you saw was just Arthur Morgan riding a horse through the woods, you could just pick that apart and say, that's all he did was ride through the woods, you know? Yeah. I mean, it's just a small snippet of the game. It's
like movie trailers, isn't it? You see a movie trailer, and
I don't want to see everything right away, you know? I want to be, you know... I want them to just give me a little bit here and there, you know, and until the game comes out, then, you know, I could be wowed by the whole experience. You know, hopefully that's what happens. But I'm saying on a visual standpoint, for somebody to say that looks bad, they're an idiot. Straight up.
Ridiculous. It's Ninja Theory's way of saying, look, we are confident in how our game looks, confident in how our, you know, motion capture and animations looking. So here you go. We want to show something off. No one thought it was going to have giant, giant kind of demon men or whatever in the thing. So
what's sad is they didn't leave that for the very end. They should have ended the show with that, because when they showed it was like the first 45 minutes to an hour in, and then everything after that kind of paled in comparison. You're like, I kept thinking about that game. I know there's different art styles, but I kept thinking about Hellblade going, man, Hellblade makes everything look more cartoony or like a video game, whereas that looked like a movie that you get to interact with. Like it was on a different level. So it was just like they should have saved that for the end, in my opinion. Z Black Rider says, I noticed she had less face paint for odds. That's true. I appreciate that, Z Black. But yeah, so another game that wasn't showed though at the Gaming Awards was Stalker 2. I don't know if you're interested in Stalker 2, but
I am,
some info came out, and I guess this game is going to launch at 180 gigs.
Yeah.
Wow. That's massive. What is this testament to? Is this the fact that the game has just got a lot of large assets, like it because it's Unreal Engine 5? Like, or what's going on?
So I'm not sure whether this is kind of like, whether it is 180 or whether it's kind of like, at the moment, and they might optimize and pull it down. I mean, I was a fan of the original Stalker, and it was a huge game, the original PC game. So I think it's a mixture of, an incredible set of assets. Obviously, we've seen some videos from it, gameplay videos. And I think it's just going to be a humongous game. Whether it does end up being 180 gig, I guess we'll find out at launch. But I think it's just a mixture, really. I think you've seen the texture fidelities, impressive, materials. I think the landscapes will be huge, like they've done before. We've seen that. So we're starting to get to a bit of a scary level, aren't we, when Call of Duties and other games start approaching 200 gig.
It's crazy. But I don't have them here, but there's screenshots out there that were released, and the game is looking incredible. And this will be the first Unreal Engine 5 game we will see, because it comes out in April of 2022. So when this drops, I mean, we've already seen, parts of the game in some trailer at E3, and it looked incredible. To me, it was one of the highlights of the show for me back in E3. It's looking incredible. Stalker is I didn't play the original Stalker, but I watched a lot of footage of it, but it looked completely different. Like it was
a great game in terms of like its gunplay. For me, it was almost kind of an original. Well, it was like an original DayZ or something, because I think a lot of the Stalker. I think a lot of the Stalker people then went on to like Metro and other games like that. It was really good. But I mean, the one thing, and this is, I don't know anything, I'm not kind of giving anything away here, or it's just an intriguing question I've got, is given the Matrix work and stuff like that, I wonder if like the Coalition have helped the team out, being obviously Unreal.
That'd be nice. That'd be cool. Like, that's something I'd like to see more of the teams doing, just like they do over at Sony, helping each other out and stuff. That's cool.
And whether it's just like the tech team or, technology group or something that's helped them, or whether they have, obviously, I don't know whether they have, but the fact that they've been involved in the Matrix and stuff like that, then they've obviously started getting the head around Unreal 5. So, it'd be nice to see some type of collaboration, as you say.
Yeah, and again, Gear 6 will be using Unreal Engine 5. Yeah, it'll be using that as well. They announced that back in 2020. Somebody was saying, I think I was on RDX, and somebody in the chat said that they never said that they were going to be using Unreal Engine 5, but they did. I looked it up, and they sure did. Gamer by Choice, he's talking about Hellblade 2. He says, if you look at the gameplay and cannot tell it from cutscenes, that sounds incredible to me. Thought the whole thing was realistic gameplay. Right. Yeah. LOL. Yeah. No,
so it was, wasn't it? It was gameplay stuff.
It was gameplay. Yeah.
Without a HUD. Yeah.
Yeah. It, like I said, we don't know much about the gameplay itself. We don't know what the mechanics are going to be like, but we do know that they've put a lot of attention to detail, and they have spent the resources on martial arts training. And I cannot see them doing that without implementing some of that into the game. Yeah. So it's just, you got to kind of use common sense there, you know? Anyways, that's it for the show. We are done. We're over our hour mark here. I want to thank everybody who showed up live and everybody who shows up after the fact or listens on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, all those wonderful streaming platforms. Thank you for watching or listening to the show. I appreciate it. Chris, thank you for showing up, man. I want to thank you as my very first guest that opened this darn show back so long ago, 27 episodes ago. I can't believe I've already done 27 episodes, but we're here, 27. Thank you very much, Chris. You've been awesome as always. I love your insight into, the technical aspect of the games and stuff. I want to have you back on more often when it comes to things like this and talk to you about the tech stuff. If you would grace us with your presence here.
Yeah, it'd be a pleasure to, and thanks a lot for having me on. I'm sorry we couldn't get this done last week, but you're doing great. GTL's doing awesome, and the fact that you're kind of 27 in already and stuff like that. You have some great guests, great insight. So keep going, mate. And obviously we'll continue to talk as we always do. But yeah, I'd love to be back on when the time's right.
Awesome, buddy. Let everybody know where they can find you. And
so tend to be on when I'm not working or ill. I'll be on Xbox at Hard Times UK, so feel free to add me. I enjoy kind of playing multiplayer games, co-op games, etc. And CJ Grinnell, spelt as it is there on the screen on Twitter. DM me, chat away or whatever. I enjoy talking about all this stuff, so yeah, just reach out anytime. And thanks everyone for tuning in.
That's awesome. Anyways, guys, until next time, game on.